booming. Alright. And welcome to Magathy and Builder Worlds. This is a chocolate profiterole, but this video is a science fiction tabletop trash bash tutorial, I suppose. That's certainly how I did it. Yeah. Well, in this video, I say it's terribly rude, he's eating. In this video, I'm going to make a biodome for pretty much any tabletop game you like. Science fiction wise, would work really well for Star Wars Legion, or Shatterpoint, or Stargrave. I'm going to probably use them in my Judge Dredd games at one point or another. And in actual fact, I'm really making them for a project for work. But I really like this idea, and I think it could work really, really well on any sci-fi tabletop. Anywhere where you need plants and creatures growing in artificial environments. And one of the coolest things about this particular trash bash is actually providing yourself with the trash in the first place. This is a really simple model to make, and it is mostly made from genuine household junk. All right, all of this stuff is stuff that my household produces from a junk point of view, a trash point of view, and I don't want to throw it away. And the best, very best news is the fact that it involves having to eat a pile of fresh cream Belgian chocolate profiteroles. Oh yes, it does. So, what you said? Yep, there it is. Look, there's one. Now, what I'm doing here is providing myself with the trash that I'm going to bash. Unfortunately, Fat Hobby Gandalf is on a bit of a diet, on a bit of a health kick at the moment. So far, in 6 weeks, I've lost 11 kilos. That's about 28 pounds in old money. So I'm not in a position where I can eat all of these. I'm going to have to hand these over to some other people to help me out. Otherwise, I'm going to put it all back. But once you have eaten all of the fresh cream Belgian profiteroles, you get one of these. Oh, come on. I'm going to have to share these with everybody else. Viewer, I didn't share them. I might have eaten them all. I like to be a person who has to suffer for his art, so here we go. Right, let's get on with the rest of this build. Come on, let's over here. There it is, check it out. Look, this is the container that these profiteroles came in. You get this hexagonal base with 7 round spaces in it, which just so happen to be about 40 millimeters across, and you get this hexagonal roof that goes with it. And when I first clocked this in my local supermarket, I thought that's a cool piece of plastic. I've got to be able to use that for something. Now, I don't know which supermarket chains carry these apart from the one that's local to me. I'm not going to do any blatant advertising, but it's a supermarket chain that rhymes with the Rainsbury's. Yes, indeed. And you get 12 Belgian chocolate profiteroles. And there you go. And the good news is they only cost about £4. So not only do you get to eat the Belgian chocolate profiteroles, you then get this really cool plastic packaging. The plastic on the whole is pretty hideous to work with. But most of this, I want it to stay completely clear because I want it to be like a greenhouse. The only other bits of trash that we really need here for this model are the tops of a liquid softener bottle from your washing machine. I've actually used both bits. Look, again, this is a really cool piece of kind of like moulded plastic shapy bit already. You're supposed to fill the conditioner in there, I think, and then pour it into the washing machine. But hey, like most human beings, we just go glurp and pour it in. And this is the pouring bit. And actually, those two bits go together really nicely. They're going to become part of this model. And then, for a little bit of detail, I got one of these too. This is out of a coffee pod, Tassimo, I think. Other coffee pods and coffee making machines are available. Those are the main bits of junk. Then along with that, we need a selection of aquarium plants, some 40mm figure bases, not that I can find any to hand right now. Oh yes, hang on a moment. Right in front of me. Oh no, they're all Blood Bowl ones and they're all only 30mm. And a few bits and pieces to go on the outside to make it science fiction dribblies. This is going to be a piece of cake, but I think you'll really like the overall results. So let's dive in and check this out and see how this works. Alright, so this is then an absurdly simple model to make. The first thing we need to do actually is take, this is the base. This is cool, I like this. I could do something behind it so you can see it better. There we go. So you can now see this has got 7 round holes already set in here. Painting this is the only challenge because it's made from the kind of plastic. This is just not going to take paint at all. So what I'm going to do first of all, the first thing I'm going to do is going to take the bottom of this case and I'm going to take some Mod Podge. We're going to get a brush and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the underside of this entirely with Mod Podge. The Mod Podge then will go on alright, will seal it, and then that will give me an actual surface that I can effectively paint with my acrylic paint. I might take a couple of coats and basically just sealing, painting over the plastic, and then that way there, because otherwise you can spray this and probably paint it, but as soon as you move it and you flex it, the paint will just crack off. So I'm just sealing, putting this, liberally put on quite a lot of Mod Podge, and then I'll put it to one side to dry. Might take a couple of hours to dry, it's quite warm in the workshop today. I'm painting the whole of the inside, so I'm going down around the edge. And then actually what's quite cool with that is the fact that the playing side of the model, which is the inside of the tub, isn't going to have paint on it. It's still going to be clear, but that means that it's not actually going to get damaged either by figures or anything else being put inside it. So glue, 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 Mod Podge, Mod Podge, Mod Podge. When it's done, I'll put it to one side, let it dry, and we can get on with the other bits. Next bit. So this is my Biodome, cleaned, ready to go. The cool thing with it is the fact that it's great shape, and it's also got this nice flat surface here, which I'm going to take advantage of if I can find the other components for the model that I put to one side. Now fucking lost, haven't I? Oh, fuck's sake. I bloody have to. I've lost the bits I need. Served me right for filming the introduction and leaving it for a couple of days. Oh well, hang on. Back in a moment, I've got to look for the bits. Okay, so here is the next component that we're going to use. This is the lid, actually it's 2-part lid off a fabric softener bottle. And I've always been kind of like, I love this bit. I think this is really cool. It's kind of solid, good, solid, clear plastic. Thought it'd be great for a different number of different models, one way or another. And then it came to me that actually the lid from the bottle works just as well. And I even like the kind of like the pouring spout bit. That kind of like works for me. So I'm not going to do anything. What I need, that is going to go on the model pretty much as is. I don't like the top, so I've got one of these, which is the inside of a pod, a coffee pod. I can't remember in the UK. If you're watching this in the UK, we either have Nespresso or Tassimo, right? Or our coffee pod machine. Somewhere else around the world, I don't know. And to be quite honest, I can't remember if these are out of Tassimos or Nespressos. I think they're out of Tassimos. They sit in the bottom of the pod, and I don't even know what purpose they serve. But again, it's a really cool, funky kind of plastic shape. So that is going to end up getting stuck on the top of the clear dome, but I don't want the clear dome. I want to keep the clear dome as it is. I kind of like imagining that this bit actually could be unscrewed by some kind of machine and lifted off, and the biodome is then kind of like accessible through this bit at the top, which either has water or nutrients or something poured in through there. Might be quite neat. Or this whole thing is the fitting that when attached here, the whole biodome can be lifted off and easy access for harvesting or whatever can take place. So what I'm going to do first of all is prepare my biodome. Now, unfortunately, I mean, all this goes very well, but it doesn't quite work. What we got here, let's zoom this down here, where we got the top of the tub. Ideally what I want is for this bit here to sit in between these two lines, but unfortunately they're not quite going to do it. So what I'm going to do first of all, I need to cut out a hole that will take this bit. So probably, judging by the look of that, about 40mm will be fine. That's a 40mm base. So if I place a 40mm base right in the middle of that unit, I'm going to draw around the outside of it and then take a knife and cut out that 40mm base. I don't need any more of that. That then is going to sit okay on that, because this bottom bit here is going to go through down into the biodome itself. And again, I could do something funky with like another one of these that would sit on there quite well, and then that could have pipes and things hanging out of it. So you can go to town a little bit with designs. I might actually do that because another one of these I've done, I haven't, but this might be quite cool to have some like pipes and stuff hanging out the bottom there. So, and this component, this whole complete component, will need to be painted. All the bits separately will need to be painted before they get stuck on the model, because obviously I want the whole biodome bit to remain plasglass, see-through. So yeah, the whole structure is glass. So right, now we need to find something I can draw around this with. Fine Sharpie of some description. Okay, so you can see me around top. My red, I'm drawing that on there with a Sharpie. I'm now going to take a knife and cut into this. Now you have to be pretty careful cutting this plastic, because it does have a tendency to kind of like split one way or another. It's not very tough. So I'm going to start in the middle. I probably could do with changing the blade on this knife. Okay, here we go. Magathia's safety tips, remember. Sharp blades always work better, so a new blade is good. Okay, now cut across. Try and go as gently as I can. Getting this. I apologise, there's no easy way to get the camera looking this around my hand. And then that way as well. So what I'm aiming for is this circle to be cut out here. So this can sit in it. Okay. You know, you probably don't need to watch me just cutting up circles in bits of plastic. Yeah. One thing I'm going to have to do with this scenery, mind you, is when it stores, you have to be careful with it because these biodomes will be susceptible to getting crushed, so be careful with that. Okay, so now my next issue is that this now will fit in that hole. The problem is unfortunately, all these things are great, but the serendipity of this is, yeah, kind of annoying. I'm not sure what to do at this point, because look, you can just about see the edge of the blue doesn't quite fit in between the gap here. I've got two choices. I could either cut into the edge here and try and fit this in, or I could trim off the flat here. Now, I've made one of these models before where I've actually cut into here and it sits in, but I'm quite tempted to try and trim this down just a little bit because it's a ridiculous, it's only a tiny bit that needs trimming off. So I might try and do that this time, and then it will fit in. It'll only fit in one way, but that'll be cool. So what we're going to do, I have no idea how I'm going to achieve this, because the model is actually kind of achieve it and make it look neat. Flatten that side a little. I need to do it exactly the same side, place on the other side as well. Because what I really want to do is sit neatly in that trough on the top. How about that? There's a bit of trial and error here, really. That still needs to come off a little bit more. Okay, so here I have managed to cut off very finely, if you just see here, look, just a chunk out here on one edge and on the exact opposite edge. So it just flattens this a little bit, and that fits perfectly into the knobbly bit on the top, the groove on the top of the tub, without me having to cut into the sides, which I think is much better. So that then is going to sit there nicely. It needs that fixing to the top, and I think, like I said, I'm going to fix one of these to the inside as well, because I can have some pipes or something hanging out of that. So I need to, next step of this here build is actually do some painting already. Let me just super glue. I'm going to super glue that disc on the bottom of this disc. Sit that on there like that, I hope. Let that dry, and then that actually needs painting. We're well on the way. While that happens, I'm going to have to make some other components that are going to go on the side. On one of these sides of this thing, I'm going to have like a computer panel. I've selected a computer panel from my drawer of computer panels. This one, where did this come from? Can't remember. Green Stuff World, I think, maybe. Set of computer panels Very nice. It is 2. That I'm going to mount on a 25mm base, and I'm going to then put another 25mm base on the inside. I'm not even going to bother painting the 25mm bases. They're black. They're going to work perfectly well. So I'll have a thing on either side, and there'll be a computer panel on the outside, which would be quite neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and spray, undercoat. This is stuck already. I'm going to undercoat my little computer panel. I've found a grid thing, which I'm going to possibly use as well. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Before I do that, let's dig through the cack a bit. We're going to go digging through the cack. Just a little bit to see if I can find some sci-fi bits, piping and things that I can hang off here. Because then I can paint that all in one go. Digging through the cack. This is a trash bash rather than the cack build, but here we are. We're going for cack now, so let's go and have a butcher's. Okay, so the result of my digging through the cack is that I didn't waste very much time. I found one pipe thing. There we go. Look, it looks like that must be from a Hadron Raider craft, I think, of some description. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hang that. I think that's going to give me enough kind of like clue that there's some kind of piping going on there. So I'm going to hang this in the middle of that, and that'll hang down and look kind of pipey. And hopefully that'll be alright. Then I can stick all this to one side, let the glue all go off, and then paint it. And while I'm doing that, while that's happening, while the glue is going off, I'm going to have a look at plants. How we're going to do those. So that bit of pipe literally is going to sit inside there. That's beautiful. If I could just get that to sit tight, would be really good if that would just sit tight. He says, "Hold it, just sit fucking tight, will you?" That chain hanging on the edge there. So that's just going to give me an extra bit of detail. So I'll put that to one side. Out of the way because they're just going to need painting, aren't they? Right, so now we're going to talk plants. Now, where's the base gone? Well, I've got a spare base, so let's just do this, fit this aside. There we go, this is the base. Now, the plan is to take some. Oops, drop that other lid. Plan is to use 40mm GW cavalry bases. Convenient because they've already got holes cut in them. And if I take basically 7 of these bases, I'll be able to drop them into each of the holes on the base of the model. Right, and that is going to give me then up to 7 flower beds, plant beds, whichever else. Right, and all I'm going to do, and here's one I made previously, here we are, it's effectively plants stuck into the holes, stuck into the base, and then all I've done is I've used a dirty leaf mould mulch underneath sitting there, and that covers up the rest of the base. So all I really need to do is find some different plants to stick them in, and what I've got there, I bought some aquarium plants. I've got lots of stuff in my scenery making gear, various kind of bags. Somewhere I've got a carrier bag full of them. A lot of these are bought at boot fairs actually. And all I want to do is use interesting looking foliage. Granted, it's going to look a bit plastic aquarium-y, but on the other hand, it's kind of like alien life and stuff. So some of these, I actually could just pretty much whack the whole thing on there like that. That's quite tall. Let's get another one of these for a moment. Look, if I do that, that's going to. needs some squashing down. So I think I'm not going to use the bases that you use in the fish tank. I'll take them out of that. I might have to chop down the plants a little bit as well. Although that bit is quite cool, that could sit. I reckon if I trim that a little. These GW round cavalry bases have got very conveniently got all these holes in the bottom anyway. So if I trim that up, I can stick that in the middle there, and then rather than take it from, I can cut from the bottom and have these kind of like blue plants growing up. Might be interesting to see if we can make some fruit or something cool. But essentially, the plants in the biodome are cleaning the air in the block or on board the spaceship or whatever else, and also providing food for the people there. So it doesn't matter what sci-fi game you're playing or sci-fi story you're telling, this location with this series of biodomes will have the same purpose for every single one, which is pretty neat. So yeah, look, okay, that's stuck in there. Well, not stuck in, but it sits in there, right? And then I can go back, stick me purpley plants on. That's kind of cool. Actually, with this plant, I can do that, and then I can just, that'll be nice and easy to fill. I picked this up as well, which is quite neat. I like the red foliage and the plants and the stuff. Obviously, going to have to pull it out of the resin stones. It's quite tall, but some of this will look really cool. What I want is normally want something bigger in the middle and stuff around the outside. I'm going to clip out one of these for a moment. See how big that is from a height point of view. Put my lid on. Oh, it's going to be alright. In fact, I could go a little bit higher. So actually with this plant, all I've done is taken it off the block and trimmed down the bottom a little bit, and that, look, that's going to sit in there really well. There will be enough room in there for smaller figures to be moved around inside it. There's nothing to say that you have to fill up all of these with plants. You could actually turn some round and put grates in them, or build them up so they're solid. But in this case, yeah, I quite like that. So look, I haven't even stuck this plant into this base. I cut out the central hole. Trimmed down and then stuck that in. So that is pretty much good to go. I'm now going to kind of base that so it's got stuff in there, and then we're going to make some others. That's quite tall and it fits right up to the top, so if we can use other ones of these, I will have to trim them down, but I quite like that colour there right in the middle, and I might do some plants of another variety also from the same, therefore from the same planet, growing in there. Maybe that's quite a nice kind of colour and plant. Or we've got other bits. I'm going to chuck in some green because that will contrast quite nicely against that purple. Yeah, this is where I just get to play around now inside bags of plastic plants. Alright, so here's my mocked up one. This is in another spare box, but now look, I've got a whole load of plant growing in there, different flowers, and what I'm probably going to do, I've got some actual cabbages. So these are HO cabbages from one of the other ranges that I use. I might put some fruits into these leaves using these kind of pink cabbages. They might be quite cool. So this is, I'm going to leave the lid off there because they're super glued in, and actually the one thing I know is that super glue will react in that kind of like atmosphere, and you'll get kind of a chemical reaction which will make the inside of the plastic dirty. So they're all there. I'm going to leave those to dry because they're all super glued in. In some cases I had to use tiny little bits of white tack to plug into the holes and then plug the plants into the white tack, and then super glue them in. That way they've got some grip, because the stems are actually too thin for the holes. So that's my plants there. I'm going to let them dry for a little while, and then I'm going to flock those bases. And just while we're on it, these three, look, we've got the odd flower, which is quite nice, but I think if I pull out these little cabbagey things, I could add some might be able to find a way of mounting the odd fruit. I might need to use a pair of tweezers for this here job, I suppose, my big fat thumbs, but I might be able to stick some plants in there, some fruit in there, and that would be quite neat. Not that I know where any of my tweezers are. Okay, so I've got things sprayed. We're going to start painting this in a minute. I've got things sprayed and drying out in the garage. So what I'm doing, while I'm waiting for that to finish, what I'm going to do is find the brown flock stuff, the leaf mould flock, and I'm going to finish these bases off. I don't know what I've done with it. It's going to be really slick. This was going to be a really slick link here. It's going to go straight to that. There it was. Job done. Easy peasy. Looking grand. Get the thing out. Maybe what I should have done was found the stuff first through before I press record on the camera. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop this and do again. And again, I mean, what I'm really enjoying about this particular model, the fact that it's the simplicity of it all. Look, I'm literally going, this is a brown flock. I don't even know who the manufacturer is. Could be Woodland Scenics, but might not be. Looks like quite a lot there. In fact, I think I picked this up at a boot fair for like £1 a bag. And what I'm going to do is effectively take each one of these plant bases with its 40mm round base. I'm going to get a bunch of Mod Podge. I'm going to paint the Mod Podge into the bottom of the base, and I'm going to stick it in the brown flock. The brown flock being the medium that the plants are growing in the biodome. For those of you who are expecting a super complicated build this time round, I apologise. For those of you who like something nice and straightforward but super effective, here it jolly well is. Okay, so there you go, look. Done. Need to do 6 more of those and we're in business. Okay, well we're going to do some of the difficult painting on this model now. I know what that paint I'm not, it's completely fucking dead. Right, what's that? Mechanical Standard Grey. Bin that one. Get this one out. What I'm doing is I'm painting the underside of my base, because this is the bit that I've already painted with Mod Podge. Not doing anything flash, it doesn't require anything flash. I just want it to go grey so it's no longer see-through. There is a bit of Mod Podge left in there. Now, thinking about it, what I should really have done to save myself time and effort should have been to mix the grey paint into the Mod Podge in the first place, and as it dried it would have just sealed and dried and stuck on all in one go. But it's had 2 coats of Mod Podge. Now I'm just putting grey paint on.
And to be honest, I think that'll be enough to achieve what I want to achieve, which is no longer have the clear plastic, not on this bit anyway. I'm going to paint around the bottom, both sides of the groove, across the round bits of the flower bases. I'll let all that dry, because then you get this cool kind of grey come through, but it's got the plastic cover on the top, so it works really well. I have looked in some other large supermarket chains now, and I have not seen anybody else selling their profiteroles in this packing. So while I am happy to say that there are other supermarket chains available, if you want to make this particular model, you're going to have to frequent a large Sainsbury's. There is of course nothing stopping you finding some other plastic packaging that would do the job just as well, different shape or whatever have you. I just really like this because it's hexagonal, it's just not the standard kind of shape, it's not round bowly kind of shape. It's an interesting way of presenting stuff, and it goes with, so I'm going to be using these things for a project for school, maybe gaming with, and the figures for that have got hexagonal bases, so it'll work really well with them. It'll just look cool. So just a good spacey kind of shape, you know. So look, around there like that. I don't think I'll put more pot on the bottom of the grey there. I'm right on the rim, but that's fine. Alright, I'm going to let that one dry. Might have to put some more on in a minute. But yeah. There's still actually some wet Mod Podge right down the bottom. But that doesn't matter, because when this dries, the grey will show through and the Mod Podge won't. Got the heater on here this evening. A bit nippy, it's been one of those late spring, early summer days today, which is quite nice, but very cold this evening. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. Oh look, around the outside of that. It's also quite cool because you could turn it upside down and see where you have or haven't painted. Let that dry. We're getting ridiculously close to getting this finished already. Okay, so as you can see, I've actually got a couple of other of these on the workbench at the same time. I'm not going to be able to completely finish them because I haven't got enough of the lid components, but I'm going to stick this on the top here. Let's get close to that. There we are. I'm just going to go stick on there. I've got all my plants set up in this base now. This is the one that's going to go on here. They fit quite nicely. So these other two, one of them I think I'm going to do a cracked version. I'm going to cut down one side and have plants growing out of it, so it's kind of like being a bit wrecked. But right now, spot of glue on the top of this, and then the actual, I've got the bit coming that it's going to screw into and sit on the top of the unit. So the coffee filter is literally just been sprayed black and then sprayed with a metallic silver. It doesn't really need anything else. I might pick out some more details on it, but on the whole, it's kind of there. So yeah, I'm thinking of doing one of these with only plants in some of it, and then I found a large flat round base I'm going to put over the middle bit, so it's like a platform for characters to stand in the middle or what have you. I might have at least one more empty one of these so people get into the thing, just for a bit of variation really, so when you're looking at them they're not all exactly the same. I've also found, along with the plants, I found a set of giant pumpkins Stolen from my wife, in fact, who Heidi bought a set of these at a craft fair. There were 6 of them. They look like this. They're really big, especially when you compare them to say a 40k figure, a Necromunda figure. Here we go. They are that large. Nothing like a bit of genetic modification, eh? And I decided that because this is all spacey and sci-fi, what I'm actually going to do is paint them blue. So they've got, most of them now got a Cantor blue under base coat on them. I'm going to dry brush those up and have those in one of these. So we're growing big fruit as opposed to the little fruit, the little cabbages that I've added to this plant here. So yeah, coming on nicely. In a few moments we're going to have the full effect of the whole thing done and colour finished. Hurrah! I have now super glued on the lid here. This bit will undo and will twist off. I'm not going to now because that'll break the seal and the glue's still going off. I've cut out of plastic and stuck in a little vent here, and I've put on a computer panel onto a 25mm round base. Now that's quite high up for a 28mm figure. If I was going to use this for 28mm games, this would actually need a platform out here for this guy to be able to use this. But not only is this being used for Judge Dredd games or Star Wars games, it's going to be used for writing projects in school with much bigger figures. So that's set at a height for them, so it makes more sense for the kids I'm working with. Because remember, this is a project that is going to be used for a number of different things. It's being used for it could be used for Stargrave. I don't play Stargrave, but if you're a Stargrave player, then this will be a great thing to make for Stargrave games. I have got Star Wars stuff, and I really like the idea of this being used in the Star Wars setting, and it would work really well in a Judge Dredd setting in a kind of like plaza. I might put these on my Judge Dredd plazas. It could be used in Void Station Pagnell, and it certainly could be used, and the whole point is going to be used in my school projects when I'm doing science fiction writing with primary kids. So you know, it's a multi-purpose model. So these bits are going to need picking out and detailing wise, and that needs to stick. I'm going to leave that overnight to stick, and then I'm going to come back to this tomorrow to finish it off. And I'm really annoyed I haven't got more of these top sections, because I want to do at least one more of these. Well, I've got 2 more on the go. I want to wreck one, and I want to have another one there, so I've got at least 3 or 4, because they'll look really neat as a whole set, and dirt cheap, and yeah, lots of profiteroles. Not that I've eaten all the profiteroles in one go. I've been collecting these boxes, these tubs, for a little while now. Probably why I got to the size I did. More. Right, well, I'm going to leave this glue in, and I'm going to bed. I'm nearly done. Nearly done with this one. Look, there's all the foliage in. I'm stuck in, fitting on the roof, and I've stuck in my piping underneath, which is pretty cool. I've cut into the side this vent here, and I've got a computer panel on there and needs painting. That sits on there quite nicely. But what I thought I'd do before we get into assembling it all is I've got another one on the go. Got another one on the go which I quite like the look of, so I've made another top. Here, it's quite a neat unit. I mean, they kind of like unscrew, which is kind of cool. I imagine, and what I'm going to have to do at some point, is there's some kind of large kind of device that comes across and then is able to pick up the whole of this, connects to this, and then that just lifts off, which then makes all the plants available for easy picking, that kind of thing. But I thought what might be fun, because I've now got 2 or 3 of these, would be to do that a model I did for a Patreon some time ago, which was a Biodome that was smashed. I'm thinking of putting a crack into one of these. I think it'd be cool if I have crack it and have plants growing out of it. I don't know what it's going to do to the structural integrity, of course, of the actual plastic, but having said that, I mean, that's kind of like half the fun. And anyway, if I do wreck the structural integrity of the Biodome, it just means I've got to eat more profiteroles. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to take a knife to it, and cut in a crack, smash the side of it. I think it's going to have to go for the top. So wish me luck. We'll see how this goes. Don't know if it's going to work or not. Maybe I should cut in other bits first. Oh, I don't know. What the hell? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. See what happens. Of course, this stuff is pretty easy to cut. And what I want is quite a big kind of. I want it to have had a big crack and a blast. As you can see, I'm just literally randomly cutting down into it. I don't want to cut right through the very bottom. So Essex thing, because I think that will trash the structural integrity of the plastic overall. But go up into the roof here. I just think it'd be pretty cool if I get one of these really tall plants. Growing out of the top. I mean, either that, it should have killed off everything inside, but I quite like the idea of one plant just becoming invasive and growing out, growing over and taking off. So look, that's what I've done. Can we see that there? Yeah, just about. I'll put my hand behind it. That doesn't bloody help at all. There it is, look. Through there. And more importantly, I think when I put it, I think I put a solid base in the middle of that. I'll put that there like that. See, this time now, just with a quick experiment, I'm going to be able to have plants growing out the side of it, and it clearly will be broken. Like that. Which would be kind of neat. The problem with that, of course, is this can make it difficult taking the lid off. But then maybe this one doesn't need the lid to come off. It's just going to sit there. It's going to be solid, and I could cut in another hole somewhere else, so figures could actually go through it. Yeah. I could get a lot of this stuff, couldn't I? This would be ace, because if I do that like that, it's a really tall plant. A lot of it. That could come out of there, could be bursting out of there, and then literally creeping across the top. That's going to look really cool. I think we might do that. And that can then come up, wrap round. We might have killed off other plants in there. It's going to give a really interesting variation by the time I've got 2 or 3s on there. One of them's cracked and broken, so I think that's what we're going to do. We'll try that out. So what I need to do is see if I've got some more of this first. Pretty sure I have. Okay, so I've got 2 lots of this. Nice. So loads of it. And what I'm going to do, I think, is put some low-lying plants in a couple of sides of this. So it's kind of like, yeah, growing away or being suffocated by this other plant, which is going to take over. What is kind of cool about these is the fact that with the ones I'm going to be able to lift the lids off, I'll be able to swap different plants around from different things. So I could actually get some low-lying ones from one of the other ones and stick them in there straight away. Yeah. These are some low-lying plants. I could put in around like that. That's quite cool. And then I can have these big boys growing up and around and just strangling the whole kind of thing. Might just have the odd dead kind of like plate as well with plants in it. So there's nothing there. That's neat. I like that as an idea. So okay, right. So we can do that. Which does mean I'm going to make 3 more bases of plants to go. That one. That's not a problem. Loads of plants. Right. So I'm going to stick that on there. Hey, they could even have crawled back up inside. Oh no, the thing's kind of solid. Yeah, okay, so stick that on. If Find some more 40mm bases. Cool. Okay. 40mm round. Woohoo! Oh, punch. Literally gonna have that. Dead one in the middle. Yeah. Those are gonna look. They might be the right ones to have these blue pumpkins on. Actually. No, I need to get something else. Wasn't what I have. Oh yeah, that's good. Gotta just do that one. Good. Nope. What are we doing? Okay. Brush. What bloody hell have they got? Here's my now wrecked crunch. Wrecked dome with cracked bits in it, holes and stuff. There and there. I've got my plants in my dome, and what I think I'm going to try and do, I can't decide if I'm going to put these in and stick them to the outside or leave it entirely possible just to, so I can take it all apart if I need to. Basically, look, I'm trying to get that in place there, stick a load of that inside, but I need to, I definitely want the plate bit to sit flat on the floor. I'm kind of thinking that might need sticking down somewhere. So that bottom bit's being a pain. See, because in some ways I'm tempted to just stick all this down. Oh, it's fallen over. Fucked up. This is the fiddly diddly bit, obviously. That's in there now like that. Look, I'll put that on there, but there's only one on. Unless I stick it in first. Problem is with this one, it's really colour top heavy. Alright, if we find some blue tack or white tack. Alright, so I'm going to do so put some white tack in there. I don't know why I've got white tack. I mistakenly did that. I hate white tack. Blue tack is much better. Other sticky stuff is available. Stick that on there in place like that. Do the same with this one. Do the same with this one. Stick that on there like that. Then I've got loads of this stuff. It's going all over the place. Then put the lid on. Lid on. You can see what the problem is. There's now so much vegetation there. The trick is to see if I can tease some of this out. There we go. The idea is then it's kind of like bursting out the top of the, where it's exploded and cracked and broken. Cutting the tub definitely has affected the structural integrity overall, but how's that? Yeah, we're starting to get. Let's see if I can pull out another bit of plant out of here. Out this way. This stuff is literally just escaping out. I don't think I need to stick it down actually. Look at that. That's pretty cool. What do we think? Right. Okay, so I think I'm happy with those. Let's clear up the desks, put them out and see what we got. So here we are, here are my biodomes. This is the one that I made as the test. And you can see it. It's ridiculous. I mean, what with apart from the purchased aquarium plants, everything else is pretty much junk. There are 40mm bases in there, but I've got loads of those lying around, and the rest of this model is essentially the profiterole tub we looked at the start, the top of the washing softener bottle, and some bits from a coffee pod, and then a computer panel. Granted, that's bought, and then that's kind of it. And it's the same with the other two. So this is actually the one that I've been making during this video. You have to be careful when you're working with super glue on this kind of plastic, because it might fog up and whatever, but actually I think it just adds to the overall kind of effect. I think they're super effective, and they're sci-fi enough. And then this one is the bonus one I've done as I'm going along too, and I just cracked up, and then we've got, here we have all the plants kind of leaping out, coming out of the cracked up, broken up bits, which is pretty neat. So I'm really pleased with those. And then all I need to do is find a few figures to put in between them. I might have to take my camera elsewhere and go and film these. So there you are. This is the finished product. This is a trash bashed biodome using that profiterole tub, aquarium plants, and a bit or two off the top of a liquid softener bowl. A couple of bits out of the cack, but actually a really satisfying little model. And I've got 2 or 3. I've got 3 done, and I've got 2 more bases, which means there must be 2 more tops as well. So I'm probably going to end up with 4 or 5 of these. Those alone on a small skirmish table will make most of the table. The cool thing about these is that in some cases they might not, their obstacles stop people shooting through, but they won't necessarily block line of sight, because you can kind of see through them, which is an interesting kind of thing. It might be, I don't know how I could do it. I'd like to develop the machinery that comes along and picks this bit up and accesses it for the people working inside them or alongside them. I don't know. But I think this will work for pretty much any sci-fi game you like. Stargrave, Void Station Pagnell, Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Shatterpoint, Judge Dredd. They're definitely going to appear on my Judge Dredd tables. So pretty much anything. I'm really pleased with these because I can use them for wargaming, and I can use them for the creative writing project that I'm going to use for work. So I hope you found this useful. I think this is a really cool project. Let me know how you get on with this. If you know of another supermarket that sells a really useful, clear, transparent plastic tub like this, possibly not for profiteroles, but for something else, let me know. Chuck it in the comments down below, because like I said, pretty sure I've only found this tub in one supermarket so far. If you are across the pond, if you're in the States or somewhere else around the world, and you're not able to get to a branch of J. Sainsbury's where they sell these profiteroles, other supermarkets are available, then give me an idea of where you could go, where you live, to find a similar kind of tub. It would be really great. Please do leave comments down below, like and subscribe to this channel. Every single comment I always try and answer. I love it to know what you think of these models. This, I hope, is going to be the start of a new series of kind of like homemade and trash bash sci-fi scenery. Yeah, who knows where it's going to go from here. Thanks very much for watching though. I'll see you next time. This has been Magrathea Builder World. Over and out. Now, I'm going to put this on the tabletop and get some toys out. See whether we can film figures alongside it.